Story 1. Am I the asshole for telling my cheating ex-wife's parents that I don't give a fuck about her anymore and that she is not my problem? Me and my ex-wife, Mary, have been together for 7 years and married for 2. We waited to have babies because we wanted first to be financially stable, and after 2 years we started trying to have a baby. So, a few months passed by when I caught her cheating on me. I immediately told her that I wanted divorce, and she went crazy trying to suggest couple therapy, asked me to forgive her, told me to think wisely because everyone make mistakes and all this type of bullshit. But I was adamant on my decision and never forgave anyone for cheating in my life and never would. Our divorce was quick, thanks to a prenup, but unfortunately very dramatic because during the separation and even in court Mary wouldn't stop crying and begging me to think back at my decision. Fortunately, like I said, it was quick, and I always thank God for the idea of the prenup because it avoided a lot of other drama and discussion. I still have everything, and since she cheated on me, I didn't have to pay her anything. The thing is that after I caught her cheating, I tried my best to cut all contacts with her and to talk with her only through my lawyer, and when finally, the divorce was finalized, I changed my number and relocated to avoid any unnecessary and useless drama. 3 years passed by and I'm still trying to recover because it really hurt me deep and because I really loved her, but unfortunately cheating is one of the few things I never forgive anyone for. Thanks to my therapist, I'm slowly recovering and getting better. Now the issue is this. After my divorce I didn't hear news from Mary, so I didn't know anything about her life and anything else, but a few days ago I found out, reluctantly, that she had a big car accident and was hospitalized in a serious condition. I know this only because 2 days ago I bumped into Mary's parents in the supermarket and they immediately told me this. Then they said that it would be nice if I go to visit her at the hospital because despite what happened between us, Mary was always an important part of my life. I told them that I would never go to visit her because Mary wasn't my problem anymore and I don't have to do anything for her. We started arguing and I clearly told them that I don't give a fuck about Mary, her life, and what she is doing. That's because she cheated on me and broke my trust. They always justified her cheating blaming me for what happened so she can go to hell. Then I left. They reached out to my parents and told them what happened, and now my father and my sisters agree with me while my mother is insisting that I was a huge asshole because Mary was always my ex-wife, so a quick visit wouldn't change anything for me. My friends are divided on the issue, so here I am. What do you think, folks of Reddit? Am I the asshole? Edit. I'm happy that the most of you are on my side, and I want to say honestly, I'm extremely resentful and I hold grudges, but that's my character. This story with my ex left a mark in me, and whatever is connected to her makes me angry and resentful like I never was. That's because I really loved her, and divorcing her was one of the most difficult things I ever did. Because if on the outside I appear tough and strict, but, on the inside, I thought a lot about Mary and the possibility to give her another chance. But then I think about what she did to me and how badly hurt I was in these 3 years, and my resentment grows more and more. With Mary's parents I had a decent relationship. They were never happy about our relationship and were always skeptical for some unknown reason. And the last thing is about my mother. At the moment I thought nothing of what she said, but now that many of you told me about her thoughts of cheaters and cheating, I'm gonna have a talk with her and my father, because although my mom was close with Mary, this episode is off. As soon as I do that, I will update you. So again, thank you all for restoring a bit of hope in me. P.S. I'm dating a wonderful woman since a few months and I hope things will go smoothly. Update. First of all, I don't know if I hate you all or if I want to thank you for your suspicions on my mother's response. But right now, I'm more towards hating you all. I will try to make it as short as possible. So, a few days ago my mother told me her opinion on the issue with my ex when we were alone in the kitchen and my father wasn't there, but yesterday, I had a talk with both of them about this because you were right, her response was off and it sounded like she had some issues with cheating, and I hate to admit it, but you were right. So, I had a talk with both of them and it turned out my mother used to cheat on my father with her ex for the first 2 years of their marriage, and when her ex came to stay in our city she was about to divorce my father. But then her ex died in a tragic car accident with other people and they both agreed for couples therapy and it seemed like they sorted things out, but not at all. When my father knew about my mother's opinion he literally freaked out and yelled at her that she must be ashamed of her thoughts because of her past as a cheater and because she knew how much hard work my father put in their marriage to not divorce her. My mother started crying, crocodile tears, and my father knows her enough and in fact wasn't sorry for his harsh words. The thing is that there was a lot of yelling and screaming and my father told her that if this are her thoughts he wanted a divorce seriously this time. He yelled at her to pack her stuff and to leave his house as the house of my parents is my father's house legally and after hours of crying, arguing and shouting she left and went to stay to her female best friend's house. The thing is that I never knew about all of this and neither my sisters whom heard the shouting and ran down to see what was going on and when they understood they all went against my mother. Now the situation is this, my father is grateful to me to finally had opened my eyes, my sisters now hate my mother is blaming me for all this mess. But how the fuck is it my fault if my mother was a cheater and almost destroyed my parents' marriage? I mean seriously? I never saw or heard my father yelling, shouting or being so angry at someone and yesterday was the first time I saw him like this. My father has always been a giant teddy bear and everyone always told me that he was the classic, sweet giant, and seeing him this mad and angry like yesterday is something I never even imagined. So, thanks to your suspicions the situation is this and it's all a fucking mess. Story 2. Am I the asshole for disowning my wife's daughter after she chose her mom's affair partner over me? I 35M met my now soon-to-be ex-wife 33F during university 12 years ago. She already had kid when she was 19 but the dad left as soon as she started university. We were dating for 3 months before I met her daughter Lisa. I remember seeing her family for the first time. I was nervous meeting her parents but when I saw a little girl beside her mom I was confused. I asked her if that was her little sister or a cousin of hers and her answer shocked me. When she told me that that's her daughter, I thought I misheard her or something. At first, I wanted to dump her for hiding something so crucial from me but she kept on begging for me to stay and eventually I relented and soon enough I started to fall in love with her daughter and wanted to be her father figure. Our bond grew stronger over the years and in early 2019 before the pandemic hit and we got married. In late 2021 I adopted Lisa and in early 2022 my wife gave birth to our son Mark. After my son was born my wife made the choice to stay at home for the time being and I was completely fine with that. Everything was going perfectly fine until a few months ago. I started noticing my wife increasingly spending time with her friends. At the time, I didn't say anything since, in my mind, being at home all day probably meant eating at her, and I didn't want to seem controlling. The thing that made me suspicious was her constant texting and going out of the room for calls. She never did that for anyone besides this one friend of hers. I asked her about it but she gave me some vague answers about gossip. The moment that took it too far though, was when I came home last week and saw her outside talking on the phone. This wasn't out of the ordinary. I remember seeing my son on the floor crying alone. I was pissed at my wife for just leaving him alone in the house, but when I went to pick him up and smelt the horrible stench coming from him, I was beyond furious. His diaper seemed like it hadn't been changed since that morning. I quickly changed his diaper and rushed outside with him in my arms. I was beyond pissed. I snatched her phone from her hand and bolted back inside. I locked my wife outside to have a talk with this friend of hers alone. I had my suspicions about who it really was and when I heard a male voice calling out her name and asking who was there, I immediately knew what was going on. He ended the call as soon as he heard my voice. I then proceeded to lock the front door to make sure my wife couldn't enter the house at all and proceeded to screenshot as much of their chat as I could and then sent them to myself before deleting them on her phone. About 5 minutes later, she was still banging on the glass door leading to the backyard. I reluctantly opened it and was met with a smack in the face. Remember, all of this is happening while I'm holding my toddler in my arms. As soon as she realized what she just did, she apologized profusely, started crying and tried to hug me. I pushed her away and told her to meet me at the dining table. I told my daughter to quickly take care of the baby so me and her mom could have a quick chat. I just kept it simple. I told her this was her only chance to even have a sliver of chance of getting me back. If she fucked up this talk, it was over on the spot, no lies, no nothing. She kept on trying to apologize and to say it wasn't that serious. I reminded her that she not only fucked me over, she could also have easily done serious harm to our son by leaving him alone in the house like that. I then simply asked who? For how long? And did they fuck? She replied with her ex-boss Daniel, 6 months, and she didn't answer the last one, so I kept on reminding her that this was her last chance. She then just simply nodded. I then asked her if they used protection. To this she started crying and started begging me for forgiveness. She said she would block him then and there, would never contact him again, I could fuck any woman I want from now on, etc. I guess Lisa heard the commotion and came downstairs. I told her to go back up, but she just walked to my wife and asked her if I knew about Daniel. Up to this point I was calm, but upon hearing this, I swear even I started tearing up. I asked Lisa if she knew all along and she said yes. At this point I'm full on crying and I asked her why she didn't tell me. She responded with, because unlike you, Daniel buys me the things I want without having to beg. I then asked her how she could possibly do this to her dad. She responded with the "you're not my real dad" crap. My wife screamed at her upon hearing what she said. At that point I couldn't bear any of this anymore. I just grabbed my son and got into the car. Me and my son are currently staying at my parents' house. I've basically been drinking myself to sleep every day. Thanks to the saint of a mother I have, my son is being taken care of right now. I'm beyond hurt. I've cancelled my ex-daughter's private school tuitions and all her extracurricular activities. I've contacted a divorce lawyer. He is going to serve my wife this Friday. My wife and Lisa have been blowing up my phone non-stop with apologies. I simply responded with, "Get a lawyer and tell that ungrateful thing of yours to start calling Daniel her dad." I'm disowning her, and then I blocked my wife. I didn't respond to Lisa, I just simply blocked her. I guess my wife told our friends what her and Lisa did, and now they have been texting me non-stop. They understand how I feel, but they believe I'm going too far by divorcing my wife without hearing her out. They also keep telling me that disowning Lisa is definitely going too far and she's only a kid and didn't understand what she was doing. I just can't get over the things she told me. I've worked my ass off to give my wife and daughter luxuries I could have only dreamed of as a kid, and this is how I get paid back. Lisa is 13 years old, which is old enough to understand that hiding her mom's affair is bad and definitely purposely used those words to hurt me. But a part of me believes that there is still hope. A few family counseling sessions later and we can go back to living the life I once considered a fairy tale. I'm beyond destroyed by this whole situation. A part of me just wants to see them burn in hell, but the other part of me believes there is still hope. Am I really going too far? Is there still hope? Am I the asshole for disowning my daughter and divorcing my wife? Update. First off, I just want to thank you guys for the support you guys have shown me. This past week has been the hardest period of my life. Seeing the love you shared with the woman you considered your partner for life just vanish, hit me worse than anything else. To those who have privately messaged me, thank you, and please be patient with me. I have over 100 unread messages to date and will need a bit of time to respond to all of them. I just want to update you on the things that have happened since I posted. First of all, I'm happy to report that I've quit alcohol. It was tough, but seeing how my life was basically falling apart due to my constant drinking, it really was a wake-up call for me. As someone kindly suggested, I asked my mom to throw out all the alcohol in her house. The first couple of days were tough with me being more depressed than ever, but I'm doing much better now. As for my wife, I've had a brief conversation with her and I have halted all divorce proceedings for the time being. There is still a lot to navigate and a ton of logistics involved, and my decision for divorce seemed a bit in the heat of the moment. I'm not saying that I'm going back to her, I'm just saying I need to reevaluate everything again. What she did was beyond hurtful and irresponsible. If I were to get back with her, she has to do a lot to make up for this mess. I have removed half of the money in our joint account and have stopped paying the lease on my wife's car. I asked her the following questions. Has she been in contact with Daniel since our falling out? She said she has completely cut off contact with her ex-boss and is willing to do anything to make our marriage work. Why did she go to him/meet him in the first place? She said, she honestly doesn't know. She met him at a get-together her old company held, and in her words, they just clicked. They started hanging out as friends and soon things grew out of hand and she started bringing him over to the house when I was at work. Did she have feelings for him while they worked together? She said she found him cute but left it at that. They never did anything or said anything outside of work. I then started asking her questions about our daughter Lisa. Some of you guys rightly pointed out that she probably poisoned her against me. Why did she bring Daniel around our daughter? Lisa once caught them making out on the couch, and when she threatened them to tell me, they quickly shut her up with gifts and a new phone, etc. And soon enough Lisa actually started to like having Daniel around because of the gifts and so on. Did she badmouth me to Lisa? To this she just went silent and started crying. I then pressed a bit more and she finally blurted out that she started telling Lisa that Daniel was her biological dad. Not gonna lie, after this I myself started crying and just hung up. I did see a change in my daughter around the same time, but I just chalked it up to her being a teenager, but hearing this just broke my heart even more. I also want to thank you guys for telling me that it wasn't right to put all the blame on my 13-year-old daughter. I wasn't thinking straight at that time, and when I started sobering up I did sort of realize the mistake I made. I have unblocked my daughter and have been texting with her since yesterday. She has apologized to me, and it seems like my wife, in desperation to get me back, has confessed the truth to my daughter. My daughter told me that she has stopped talking with her mother since she confessed. I apologized to her for the comments I made about disowning her, and we have planned to meet up tomorrow at the local park. I again just want to sincerely thank you guys for the support and the advice. Honestly, I couldn't have navigated this mess alone while being intoxicated. Only God knows what would have happened if I didn't reach out. I also want to apologize for the drunken rant I went on in the comments. I'm beyond embarrassed at the things I said. Again, thank you all for the support and wish you all a wonderful weekend. Edit. I forgot to mention the DNA test thing on my son. I do definitely acknowledge it being a possibility, but neither am I mentally in a place to be able to cope with the stress of something like that, nor am I ready to face the reality that I might look at him differently if the test turns out negative. I'll do it eventually, but not now during this mess. Story 3. Am I the asshole for not caring about my wife's affair? Throwaway account. My 29M, wife, 29F, has been having an affair for 2 years, and I have been aware of it pretty much the whole time. We've been together for 7 years and married for 5. We don't have kids. I have been working from home since COVID hit. For the last 3+ years she has been a secretary in a large office building. Now I'm not gonna pretend like our relationship was great at that point in time and that I can't believe she would do this. I was totally complacent in my life and really wasn't putting much effort into our relationship at all. That doesn't excuse what she did, and she had her own issues with intimacy and communication that lead us to where we were then. I just want it clear I'm no saint in all of this. I totally understand that we were basically roommates whom on rare occasions had sex. Well, I found out right away when the emotional affair started. I've got all of our everything logged into every device we have, including my work computer. I mean synced email, text, photo, social media, etc. So, I was basically reading her affair regularly, including when it became a personal affair about 4 weeks in. The part that told me this was over though, was I felt nothing about this. I was totally indifferent, maybe a little embarrassed at worst. When the personal affair started 2 years ago, I recognized this marriage was dead, and that I should just divorce, mostly because I felt nothing. I started looking into lawyers and figured we could just do this easy and amicably. Well, here's where the crazy part happens. When the emotional affair started, she seemed, I wouldn't say happy, but less sad. Then the weekend after the personal affair started, I got the shock of my life. She came into my office that Saturday morning and asked me to take her on a hike and picnic. Initially I thought this is the moment to burst her bubble and reveal what I know. But I didn't. I decided to actually get up and do this. I kind of thought she was gonna reveal it herself and ask for divorce. We had a real nice time, it was a great day, and she never brought up anything. I chalked it up as one more good memory before we end this thing. Then she asked me out again that week. Then we had intimacy. I don't know if it was shame, or guilt, or what, but she was basically taking the initiative to improve our marriage. After that first week she began to open up more about her feelings. I for some reason had a fire lit under me, and started to make some effort in our relationship, started reconnecting with some old friends, got all the laundry off the gym equipment. The affair continued, but as we spent more time together over those early weeks, and since it really gave me no concern and everything seemed better, I decided to just forget about divorcing her and start to enjoy my life. I do still love this woman very much. Up until 2 days ago we were in a really solid place. We had outings every other weekend, date night Thursday, regular intimacy and communication. I don't even read their messages anymore, just occasionally to see if it's still going on. 2 days ago, I noticed she was having frequent and long conversations with one of her close friends. I asked my wife about it and it turns out this friend's husband got caught having an affair. My wife has been comforting her. This would not have been a big deal, but my wife then started bashing the husband for cheating. I don't know why I said it, but it came out, you're one to judge. She got super defensive and pressing me for why I said that. I initially tried to apologize and move on, but she wasn't letting up and I eventually spilled I've known about her affair the whole time. She tried to play dumb, which annoyed me, so I started citing specifics. She then got really mad at me, started crying, accusing me of not caring about her. I got pissed, then started yelling at her, because I'm not the one having an affair. It got heated and we went to separate rooms and slept it off. Yesterday morning she got up extra early and went to work before I got up. I tuned back into their messages and she had broken up with her affair partner. He was messaging her constantly on every app and she just kept blocking him. She came home early yesterday. I went to talk to her and she stopped me, looked at me and asked how I could let this go on. I replied, because I just didn't care. She then called me a huge asshole and locked herself in our bedroom until she left for work this morning. She got home tonight, said nothing to me, and locked herself in again. I can't even imagine in what bizarre world I could possibly be the asshole in this situation. Is there a perspective out there where I am? If so, please share it with me, because in my mind there isn't. Update. First off, I appreciate everyone's comments on the original post. Except those of you that just get on and throw insults, you need therapy more than anyone on this whole sub. If you missed the original post, you can see it in my profile. I decided against showing the post or any comments. Instead, I used it to organize my thoughts and points. My wife finally came out of her room at around 12:30 a.m. Friday and joined me on the couch in my office. She curled in next to me and just cried for a solid 15 to 20 minutes and we were just silent otherwise. When she was ready, we began talking until we were worn out. We picked that up again last night, which was also taxing. We finally finished up, for now, this morning. This includes long spells of crying, hysterical bonding, and a phone call to her affair partner while he was aware that I'm listening. The start of the affair was pretty cliché. Flirty small talk, makes her feel good, escalates, becomes messaging and sharing personal details, and eventually to kissing. Probably don't need to explain the rest of the escalation from there. We talked a lot about what got her to that point. She remembers it seemed like nothing she did could get my attention. I agreed with this completely. I also stated though that I don't remember too many attempts. She acknowledged that she wasn't very forthcoming in those days. Always hinting at what she wanted and not just outright saying it. There wasn't any one moment she said that broke the camel's back, just a collection of times. When her affair partner came into the picture, the validation was intoxicating, especially in contrast to years of neglect. However, she said she felt a ton of guilt and shame. She was in the same spot I was when it started, assuming we would just divorce as we were largely just roommates at that point. The hike and picnic were supposed to be the last bit of assurance that our marriage was over. She did not expect me to agree to go or for it to be such a pleasant time. From that point we started reconnecting and she made the decision to make the effort as long as I kept making the effort. She opened up more, and I was responding. That got us to where we've been the last 2 years. As to why she didn't end it with her affair partner once I was back. She admitted she was just being selfish, kept telling herself she would but didn't actually want to. I was planning dates, listening, and back to initiating intimacy often. He doted on her and validated her. She had the best of everything. Eventually she just convinced herself what I didn't know didn't hurt me. This makes her feel stupid now knowing I knew the whole time. We talked about my surveillance and she said she is having trouble getting over this and feels betrayed. I didn't give her any excuses. It came up because she did ask how I knew and I told her she's been logged into our old desktop / my work computer on her email, Insta, Facebook, etc. for years, as well as it being connected to our cloud. I owned up to how wrong this was, but we both agreed that if we are going to make the reconciliation work, we're going to have to forgive each other for a lot of things. As many said and we're right about, my "I don't care" statement was extremely triggering and hurtful. It took her right back to where we used to be. I took advice and organized my thoughts and told her that it wasn't that I don't care. I care about her immensely and changed for the better these last 2 years because I wanted to be there for her. I then explained I should have said, it doesn't bother me. She's still trying to wrap her head around this. I'm trying to explain how I just basically don't feel jealousy or insecurity, which is hard to put into words. It also causes a mix of emotions on her end. I told her that having her be happy again made everything worth it for me. Also, the affair got me off my ass for the first time in years, so in a way I've kind of told myself it was a blessing these past years. Finally, to address the breakup with the affair partner. She said once it was out, she went into a doom spiral thinking everything in her life was a sham. She felt guilty over everything, she cut him loose and locked me out. She was basically beating herself up for being awful to both of us. Listening to her call with him was hard even for me. From what she's told me in our conversations, and the call I'm pretty convinced he was / is in love with her. I think he was holding out hope we would divorce at some point. She laid it out for him that we would not and were going to do everything to make this marriage work. He didn't beg or degrade himself but seemed genuinely hurt. When the call ended, she reblocked him, and stated she has to go to therapy so he can heal and actually go find someone, and we can fix our issues. We are working out our plans to fix our marriage. Not totally sure where to go from here. She wants individual counseling for herself so we will make that happen. After she has done that for a while we will probably start marriage counseling. We are also going to symbolically fresh start and I'm getting a new work computer. From there it's being open and honest with each other every day, and making sure we are being present in our lives. I love this woman very much, and want to make this work. Now to address some of the other questions. Sorry to all the poly / ethical non-monogamy people, we did not discuss this. She never called herself anything other than a cheater or unfaithful. I don't have the emotional bandwidth to bring this up right now, so if this is ever discussed it'll be down the road. I've never been tested for autism or depression or anything really. I've always been stoic, and was raised that men don't show emotion. Only when appropriate. I seriously doubt I have any underlying undiagnosed mental health issue. I've never been much of feelings person, but I'm good in a social scene and understand societal norms. Some people just don't feel as deeply as everyone else seems to. Don't know if this is the update everyone wanted, but it's where we are at today, might be somewhere totally different tomorrow. Right now, all I can do is take it a day at a time. I'm going to offer some clarification since the main hang-up, aside from the idiots obsessed with the word cuck, is that my wife said she felt betrayed. The reality of our conversations is that they are 90% her self-deprecating and begging for forgiveness, talking through her affair, the triggers, the whys, the feelings, and 10% us talking about the parts one played, the surveillance, my universal apathy or indifference. Honestly, it's like pulling teeth to get her to open up about how my actions made her feel. And I understand why the response is, it's just one of the faults of Reddit communication. I'm here, having these conversations in real time, everyone else is reading a 10-paragraph summary. Which is going to make things seem equal or one-sided. I understand when responding you only have the issue in front of you, but try to realize there is more than just what's typed.